No, I don't. Well, first of all, I don't think that it's necessarily instructive just to put people in the left, the right, and the centre. I think there are very legitimate criticisms and concerns that can be made about the dominant economic paradigm that we have. Uh, and I'll give you just a very simple example of that, two simple examples. We've had a long history of discussing, for example, how people should provide for their own health. Now, in my view, that's a mix between people looking after their own health and the state providing high quality health services, hospitals, etc. So really the issue is, how much do you want the state to do in areas, for example, like education and health? Now, I don't think I'm left, right or centre. I just think my vision is I see us living as a community of people, as a society of people, not as a series of individual atoms. So, the history of all these debates is fantastic, and that's why we go to universities. What is the correct balance to get between the individual and the broader community? My view is that we try to blend an ability for an individual's family to care for him and herself, plus services that can't be provided by individuals, which are the public sector services. In my view, what's happened in the last few years is we've swung too far to the individual looking after themselves at the expense of that community saying, no, we want education and health. The other area that I could point to very quickly is that in the neoliberal economic model, it is really important that we talk not only about economic growth, but the distribution of that growth, right? We talk about prosperity, we need to talk about the distribution of that prosperity. Because in my view, growth is there for everyone. Economic prosperity is there for everyone. So if you want to say I'm left, all that means is that I'm really wanting to make sure that if the pie gets larger, then all of us are going to benefit from that larger pie. Not just a few people at the top, but all of us. And the final point about this is, when you count the cost of an economy, it is unbelievably important to count all of the costs. And where I'm going to with this is simply that we have had a model of economic growth that really hasn't factored in the result of that on our environment. So we need to come back a bit and say, what really is the true cost of our production? And the true cost is in terms of measuring our impact on the environment. Now, that's not left, it's not right, it's just good accounting. That if you're going to produce something, you need to factor in all the costs. And that's why the climate debate is so integral to the economic debate. So I don't think it's, left, right, centre. I think you need to have people in political parties, doesn't matter which political party, who are going to represent that diversity of views. And my view is we have slipped too far in one direction, not taking into account the full costs of growth, the distribution of that growth, and the balance between the individual family, and our public sector education, health, infrastructure services. Okay, there are, if I can just mention four quickly. One is a very local but important level issue, which is the Goodna bypass, where the current federal government, the proposal that they've got is just economically insane. The people I talk to all agree with that. If Labor gets in, we will not proceed with that. That's all I need to say about that. The second issue is that there are concerns in some areas of the electorate, particularly around the Brookfield area, where the hills are, about the broadband system. I have no doubt that Labor's broadband proposal is the platform for the future. We need to have absolutely first-class broadband, because that's all about information communication technologies. That is about education, it is about the economy, it is about people's leisure time, etc. They are two issues that are are local and that impact on people, particularly in various areas in this electorate. Actually, the broadband one impacts on everybody in the electorate, because I think it's about 1 in 8 people in the electorate who have connections with university, and I think that the electorate of Ryan is one of the most wired electorates in the whole country. But when people ask me about, local issues, climate change is as much a regional issue, global issue, as it is a local issue. And one of the things that I would be really keen about doing in Ryan, there's some fabulous work being done by various organisations in Ryan. There's Catchment Creek area preservations, there's sustainable projects going on. I think a federal member of parliament is in a great position to be able to pull some of those things together, maybe to have one-stop shops where people can really find out what is going on, what resources are available from the local council, from the state government, from the federal government. There's a whole battery of things that people can do in their own homes now to make their own homes more energy efficient and environmentally friendly. And I would see a real priority of trying to make sure that, over the top of the electorate of Ryan, doesn't matter which political party, we were all pulling in the same direction to make sure that every household and family person knew what was available in order to make us really an extraordinary, environmentally friendly electorate. And the other thing, which doesn't actually surface much in the general debate, I have a real concern about the alienation of young people from the political process. That is a real issue. I mean, if you look at representations in political parties and a whole lot of other indicators, I think there is a concern that the way we run politics is turning off young people, and that is a real problem, because actually, like it or hate it, the political process, political parties are all fundamentally important to the quality of our democracy. And I would be really keen, if elected to Ryan, to work with young people and with organisations and with schools. And I'm not talking here about a particular party perspective, because we ought to be able to go beyond a party perspective. What we ought to be saying is, what is going wrong that politics and the political process is not something that is really attractive to young people. Because my generation, you can look at the colour of my hair, we're on the way out. And we need to be able to work with young people to really develop an enthusiasm about the political process and an engagement with the political process, because the future of our planet now is very much resting on what young people think and do, and part of that has to be a real rich engagement with the political process. And I certainly would have that as a priority if elected in this electorate, to work out ways. I don't have the solutions. Don't think I'm sitting here telling you I have the solution, but I do have a feel that there is an alienation and a disenchantment and a disengagement, and we really need to do something about that. It's not for me to tell young people how to do that, but it's certainly, as a federal member of parliament, to engage young people in that process and dialogue would be really interesting.